good morning, and welcome to episode 96 for no particular reason. I am your host, Yanko, and Carrie Lewis is not making it today, but maybe somebody else will. We'll see how this goes. Um, I'm saying hello from frozen Chicagoland, where today it's extremely cold and even the schools are closed. It's minus 22°C, which is about -8 Fahrenheit. So that should give you an idea of how cold the weather is in here. But as always, this show does not have a specific topic. We talk about anything that inspires us or anything that um, bring us into anything that might be even useful to you. So thinking of what should I talk about today, and I'm kind of um, thinking of talking about hypnosis because this is something I like to talk about. I'm a hypnotist after all, and it's connected with the mind and the body and everything else. So today I want to talk about how one can use hypnosis without a session, or how one can work on itself with hypnosis. So that'll be the topic I'm going to be talking about. So, how do I hypnotize myself? Some people think, and most people think hypnosis is something that it's done to them, and that's a huge misconception, a big one. People think that you're doing it to somebody, and that's usually a result of hypnotist guiding somebody within themselves in that outer state of being, which confuses the spectators. Or a lot of times here in the States, there's hypnotic comedy shows, which are um, good to see, and they're entertaining. And when the spectators are looking at how the people on the stage are reacting, they might get the idea that it's something that somebody does to the person. And it's quite opposite. It's hypnosis is something that happens all the time to people. It's in if you look it up, all hypnosis it's self hypnosis. The question is isn't do I hypnotize myself? A question it's really what my attention is really doing, because the attention it's something that guides you in that outer state of being. And I'll give you an example. If you get lost in thoughts, you're already entering into hypnosis because you interiorizing your experience. Instead of looking outside, you're internalizing your experience. So, what hypnosis actually is, um, it's focused attention, in that goes around the topic that if you could focus really good, then you'll be a really good hypnotic subject, or somebody that could enter into the outer state real quick. Um, Reducing the mental resistance, again, because you're entering that outer state. Um, it increases receptivity and internal to internal experiences. Again, you're moving that awareness internally instead of externally, like looking at the world and so on. Um, One sec. So I apologize about that. Again, this is happening live, and I was looking at to see if there's any comments that might be going on. And um, there's Bonnie. Good morning, Bonnie. It's nice to have you on the show again. You're one of our regulars. I love that you're joining us. In I encourage the viewers or the listeners, if they could interact or comment and ask questions. I'm really here to help answer any questions or have the conversation going. See how it goes. Again, this show, it's not on any particular topic. Just talking about something that it's really near to my heart today, and something that I enjoy doing. Otherwise, I can talk about consciousness and things like it. And again, I want to remind everyone that show airs every Friday at 9 a.m. Central, 10 Eastern, and 7 Pacific. And no guests today. So, going back to what I was talking about. Um, So in hypnosis, it's shifting from analyzing to having an experience. So if I can define it, that's what I'll say. To clarify, hypnosis is not sleep. Although the whole word hypnosis, it's misleading because it's coming from hypnos, which is the god of sleep from the Greek mythology, but it just shows the person kind of like, again, for a spectator, somebody that's not aware, they're looking at it, they'll think that it's the person that's sleeping, which isn't the case. And it's not a control. The person that it's in that state can open their eyes, move around, do whatever they want to do freely. Um, they're just so relaxed that in some cases they might not feel like moving and wanting to do anything. And it's not certainly a zoning out. It's not like you're checking out. You're not there. You're fully there, having the experience. Um, it's it's naturally narrowing your attention. If I can use that word to describe it, that's what I'll say. Um, so, and because we're talking about self hypnosis today, the biggest misconceptions about self hypnosis is that um, that people try to force the trance where they go into a self hypnosis. They listen to a guided meditation online, YouTube or something, and they're expecting um, that the trends will be something that they can um, have an expectation of what the actual thing was supposed to be. They try to control their thoughts, which also gets in the way. It's kind of like, you know, not really helping. Uh, if you're relaxing and doing self hypnosis on yourself, and try to control your thoughts, the more you control something, the more it persists. And I'll give you an example, and I always do that as an example. When people sometimes wake up, or they try to go to sleep and they sit in bed and they try to fall asleep and try, which results in not falling asleep. And in the moment they got tired of trying because they're tired and they want to sleep and they give out that trying, then the magic happens and they go and sleep. So trying to control your thoughts or trying implies failing and usually doesn't work. Um, or they wait to feel something when they're doing self hypnosis on themselves. And and usually when I work with first time people that haven't experienced it, I mean, it happens all the time. People experience it. They're just not noticing it when it happens, if I can say that. And what actually works, it's allowing the attention to settle when you're in that state, um, in letting the mind do less. And the less the mind does, and you're just kind of present, in the moment. And this is why sometimes that could be confused with meditation, which is another whole topic I can talk about. Um, but it's just because somebody calls it guided meditation, it's not guided meditation. It's mostly like a guided hypnosis. Um, but I think for legal reasons or some whatnot, people like to call it guided meditation, not hypnosis. And observing instead of directing. It's mostly useful when you're getting in a trance state by yourself, like doing a self hypnosis on yourself. And again, if anybody has any questions, I'm willing to answer any at this point. If in any point of this live stream, if you have any questions, you can interrupt. Feel free to ask. Stop and talk about it. So everyday self hypnosis people already use. It's something that happens. And I'll give you an example. Is the worst one? It's the overthinking scenario. When you overthink yourself into um, a situation where um, reality bends for you and everything works the worst, and you might give yourself a panic attack, um, or replaying conversations in their head, because again you're internalizing, you're self-hypnotizing, um, or imagining a future failure. That is also self-hypnosis. Imagine that. And I'm laughing because a lot of people do it, including me. Sometimes, not often anymore, but in the past, I would imagine the worst case scenario, and it'll become so vivid for me. I'll be in a state where I'll accept it. So, yeah. And let me think of something else. Or emotional storytelling in the mind. It's also another one. Pretty much, um, let's put it that way. You're hypnotized most of the time during your day. You just don't know you're hypnotized. And mental loops and other things that you already have done are affirming that for you. And you kept living in that moment. And that goes with the saying that you create your reality, because you really do. Um, what you see, it's some version of the actual reality that's been through your filters based on, whatever the mind or emotions are going through your mind at that very moment. Um, so most of the time, I don't even know if we're actually perceiving a situation as how it is. Even with people, sometimes you have an idea of what a person is or how they're hold themselves or anything, but that's just your idea. And if you ask somebody else that has a different idea for that person, they'll give you their description or their idea of who that is and what they do. Um, so if this, and to circle back to the anxiety example I give you, The anxiety can hypnotize you. Awareness can too. You're just use the same mechanism, but you have a different direction to empower yourself, to get yourself in that outer state where you can change something about yourself, something you don't like, and you like it to be different. So, attention is the level in where you give your sustained attention to, it becomes real for you. Um, and and the and this goes around with like how the subconscious works. It reacts on facts, not on logic. So, and I'll give another example. Say you're emotional, you're in a situation, emotion overrides logic, and then at that very situation, when the emotion it's running, there's no logic because that's just happening. It gets you, you're focusing inwardly in the emotion in that moment. You're not out, and that overrides the logic. You're getting in a trance state, and that's pretty much what it is. Um, and emotions can strengthen the suggestions. And I'll give you an example. If you can recall an emotion when you're in a guided meditation state or whatever state, like say you're listening to music and you can recall an emotion, a positive emotion, and refill it, that'll bring that state and it'll feel like it's real. Like maybe a childhood memory, eating your favorite food with your grandparents or something like it. So yeah, that could do it. Um, so I'm gonna ask you something. Next time when you're under stress, try to see where your attention goes. See if you can grab your attention in not grab your attention, but like observe where your attention goes when you like in a stressful situation and something happens. Um, it's already hypnosis. Like you'll get the idea by observing that state. And so awareness based. And I'm going to call it awareness based self hypnosis. Um, you don't change, and here are the core principles of that. You don't change your thoughts, you notice them. And again, there is close resemblance with meditating or just sitting and observing your thoughts. You don't suppress the emotions, you feel them fully in that state. You don't fight the loop if you're stuck in a loop, like repeating thoughts. Again, you observe it. And what happens is that the nervous system slows down in that moment when you're observing that. And I actually had a conversation with a friend on that topic um, yesterday, and we talk about stress and how stressful he was, and um, even getting a massage. The person that did the massage told him like, "Oh, you're very tense," like, and he was talking about like, well, how do I release the stress or the tension? And I say, you don't have to. You that you think you are, you don't have to do anything. You have to allow the system to self-regulate. And when you sit and allow the system to self-regulate and to harp on the thoughts, you don't change them, you observe them. what the system gets is a signal. It's that, oh, I'm safe now. I'm in this environment that there's no danger, so I can relax. Or oh, I'm okay now. Like I can feel my emotions because I'm in a safe place again, and I don't have to change anything or pretend to be strong in the front of somebody and maybe not having an emotion or um, repeating thoughts, and that signals the nervous system to calm down, and it happens like a magic, and it works. So I'm actually quite interested to see what he gets out of my advice, and if he applies what I said about just allowing the system to slow down and self-regulate. And the other thing that also shows up as a byproduct, because the system produces different hormones and other things, when you constantly tell the nervous system that you're safe and everything is fine, there's no danger, it starts to produce that happy hormone. And this is why some people, when they meditate, they feel blessed, they feel joy, um, because everything else kind of runs out. Um, and it happens naturally. Awareness, awareness just kind of helps you get to that point. Thanks, Bonnie. Again, if anybody has any questions, I'm reading the chat. Most of the chat I'm reading. We're going to multiple platforms. So if I don't get your question or message to come through, I apologize. But you can always contact me via email or direct if you have any questions, and I'll be happy to answer them. So, um, what you can do to help yourself and get into self hypnosis, you can notice your breath without changing it. That's a good exercise. Anytime you're bored or you have time, you can bring your awareness to your breath and just observe it without needing to change it. Um, Notice where your body feels tense. If you're sitting and or laying down or what have you. And I want to open a side note. If you're watching this while you're driving, um, you should probably watch the replay, because the way I talk and have you imagine things like that might actually help you get in a trance state, which won't be as safe if you're driving a car, operating any machinery, or you're doing something that requires your undevoted attention to. So just just letting you know. Um, you can, and going back to what I'm talking about with the self hypnosis, you can notice how your body feels at any given point. You can notice if anything feels out of place, if anything feels weird, but just notice that. Don't try to change it or do anything with it. Just simply let your attention rest there for a little bit. Um, Not fixing or not visualizing, just noticing. And you're noticing, like, oh, okay, there's tension. Or um, if there's anything else, or if there's an emotion, oh, there's hurt, or whatever it's happening in that moment. Oh, no problem, Bunny. This is why I do this to empower you or whoever watches in the replay that could probably take something and use it and apply it in their day-to-day um, operating. Um, so to circle back, that wasn't relaxation, what I just told you about. It was just noticing. Um, that was just conscious attention of where you put your attention to. Um, and this is the same doorway that the hypnosis it's using, or the hypnotist it's using to help somebody quickly shift from one state to another. Um, and there is a term, if somebody wants to look it up, it's called trance derivational search, um, which it's explained like this: anytime you move your attention back into your mind and you search for something, like, say, if I tell you, think of a chair, then you have to go within, retrieve that search, do that search, that trans derivational search, to find the meaning of a chair and come out with that. Um, so anytime you do that, even when you talk with somebody, you doing a mini trances, you're going, you're searching for the meaning and you're bringing it back up. So the more you do that, the more you go within to search for different things, the more you're deepening or helping yourself deepen the trance state. You're doing mini searches. And to go back to the example of the chair I was given, if you think of a chair, one can say, well, I'm thinking of this black chair that is this size and that, and somebody else might, retrieve a different version of the chair. And so it's different with everyone when they do that. Or if somebody says, think of all the different colors of fruits, that's almost like doubling your self trance state, where you have to think of different fruits and then you retrieve that, and then you have to go back and think of all the different colors that each fruit has, which is a lot of fun. Sorry about the cough. Drinking a little bit of coffee. I'm recovering from a some kind of cold that I was going around the holidays. So so why this works without a formal session? Again, I'm giving you all that examples. The subconscious responds to the presence in safety, allows the openness for you to experience. Um, in the stillness reveals the patterns. Again, repeating loops. Anything else? Insight comes from that space with no effort. You get aha moments. Um, and I'm thinking of, like, some people get that kind of insights when they're showering because there is no thought going. You're just mechanically going through the process. So to clarify, um, when you do this kind of things, awareness uh, trains the system daily. You train yourself. You're getting more familiar with that state, that trance state, and so you can utilize it better. Common mistakes people do when they try to apply those methods. Um, they're trying to do the right thing, the right thing. Again, this is a whole topic I can go on. Um, and this going back to what I talk about with trying, with the slipping. Um, just give out trying. Just allow, be present, be in the moment. Um, just that alone will help. Um, so that's one of the mistakes. Another, it's judging the experience, and that often happens because we try to compare experiences between each other. Um, and this is going hand in hand with spirituality. If somebody shares their experience of like connecting to angels or something else, um, you go back and you try to recreate the experience or judging it, um, and in turning in turning the whole thing to another task. The moment this becomes work, awareness disappears. So playfulness, and Carrie talks about that a lot. Allow yourself to be playful, allow yourself to be in the moment, experience life differently. Don't take it as something that I gotta do it. Because I've been there and done that. At the beginning of the journey, when I started to meditate, I I was doing those things, and this is way back before I even got fascinated with hypnosis and the outer states, and that's actually what drove me into um, doing hypnosis and finding more about it, because I was curious. I wanted to know if there's a recipe. Does one just sit and put his fingers down and goes in an outer state, or how does this whole process work and everything? So the moment this becomes work, awareness disappears. So um, that's another mistake people might do. Um, when would it be a good time to use awareness-based self-hypnosis? Um, when you have an emotional trigger, um, that'll be a good time. Again, like I said, anytime when you go through things, you can notice where your awareness goes in that moment. Um, Decision making, when you have to make some kind of decision and things are hectic, or you're having some kind of a anxious loop, you're going through something. That's the best time to use the awareness based method I'm talking about. Um, Feeling stuck or overwhelmed, again, another good opportunity to use that awareness to help yourself in that moment. Um, Before reacting or speaking, it's another good opportunity. Um, a lot of times, and this is something I notice on myself, and a lot of times before I speak, I'll notice what's happening before I react. So simply, I don't react out of that emotion or whatever it's happening in that moment. Don't wait to calm. Use that insight, that moment. So again, if you could remember, because you might not remember the first time around when that happened to you, uh, because that goes back to what I was talking about, like how emotion overrides logic, but with a little bit of persistency, you'll be able to use that awareness based method to see what's happening in that very moment and um, get that aha moment from it. Thanks, Bonnie. Take a drink. I will take a drink. Nothing beats good coffee in the morning. Although I'm switching back and forth between coffee and matcha green tea to get the caffeine going in the morning. So, and so, what does that do over time for somebody that's doing this kind of self hypnosis? Um, it'll help you to be a less reactive in a moment because you're developing that new skill of using that awareness based self hypnosis in the moment to get the aha moments, um, faster emotional recovery. Emotion comes in, you're like, there's emotion, no good or bad or anything. It's just, oh, there's an emotion. And I want to open a site um, and expand a little bit on that emotion. When you start doing this kind of observation, you might notice that not all the emotions are always emotions within you or created by you. You might be able to experience emotion of somebody else that's next to you, or if you're in a crowded space. um, and this is why sometimes for people that have more empathy and more empathic, it's uncomfortable to be in crowds because all that other emotions from the people, emotion, energy, and motion, goes in and they feel it, and it could be confusing for somebody to mistaken somebody else's emotion for their own, if I can, put it that way. But again, this is very helpful if you're doing this awareness based self hypnosis. That'll train you um, be more discernment, be able to discern your own from somebody else's. And I won't even go to say my own and claim it, because that'll again make it a lot harder for the mind and everything, put you in loops and not really helpful. If there's emotion, there's emotion. It feels, emotion feels icky or whatever way you want to describe it. And so it'll also help with clearing the inner signals. Um, Again, because you're more present, using that is a tool when you're in that situation, um, and reduces the um, and reduces the identification with thoughts. So you're not identifying with the thoughts as much as you used to be, um, especially if you're the kind of person that it's so entangled in their thought that they're even verbalizing and externalizing it. And you know you might have seen, if you're not one of those people, but you might have seen somebody going around and saying, I never do the right thing, and they're like talking to themselves and things like that. So that awareness based technique will also help you do less of that, because you're noticing it and you're not associating much as you do with that. Um, an important note is that life doesn't become silent when you do that. It just gives you a different perspective. Um, you're just you're stopping being pulled towards every sound, every distraction. Um, in a way, it focus your concentration or awareness. Let's put it that way. So, yeah. So to close this out with, I'll say hypnosis isn't a rare phenomena. It's something that happens. It just have a different meaning for everyone, how they see it, and most people don't realize it when they go in that trance. In the trance state, it's not your enemy. It actually helps you better yourself. It only becomes your enemy when you're doing this kind of stuff unconsciously every day. You're, you know, hypnotizing yourself to the point of no return of a panic attack or something else. Uh, and like I said, unconscious hypnosis runs your life. If you're conscious in your present, that's not going to happen. Conscious attention um, gives you back the you that you are. So, in um, to close this off, I would say you don't need a deeper trance. You just need a clear awareness to be able to make the change. Um, and I don't know why I forgot to mention that, but that's also a misconception that I see with people. Are when I work with people, um, after I finish a session with somebody, they'll say, "Was I really in a deep trance state? Was I really deep? Like how? Tell me, was I really like in a deep state or whatever?" So you don't need to have a deep trance state. You just need to pay attention to your awareness. The moment you notice the loop, the trains weakens. So self hypnosis begins in the moment you stop focusing on the change and just allowing things to happen. Oh, thanks, Bonnie. Thank you for again showing up and keeping me busy and asking questions. Much love to you as well. Um, Anybody else, if he has any questions, I'm willing to answer them. Now it's the time to do some questions and answers. And if you think like I missed anything when I talked about this, please let me know. Um, and I'll be very excited to see how things will be different going forward for you. Uh, Having the ability to use what I talk about in your day to day. And I would be excited to hear from you. Um, Please share, say in a month from now, or if you're watching this on the replay, and even a year from now, or what have you. Um, you use the tool, and it brings you something and helps you change your life in a way that's meaningful to you. I'll be excited to hear about it, and I'll write back to you. And yeah, if there isn't anything else, I'm gonna close this off. Wish you a wonderful holiday. I mean, holiday weekend. I don't know why I'm thinking as a holiday at the weekends. Um, Exciting times. Be good to yourselves. And I'll always people find out who you really are. Go within. Find out who are you. Who's driving the train. And with that, I'm gonna say bye bye. And